did this in the first interview, so this is actually take number 3 because I have tried several times to interview Panama Steve, and he's too famous. It just never worked out. So here we are. Thank you for blessing the BU community with your presence finally. We're on the opposite side this time.
It's okay.
On that side?
Yeah, 3 times a charm. Yeah. They're both good sides.
Okay, yeah, that's how I feel too. All right, Panama Steve. So since then, I have learned that I didn't know that Steve was Panamanian. Is that how you say it? Panamanian?
Yes.
Yeah. Because I asked him, why Panama Steve? And he was like, well, it all started in Panama.
Right. Well,
just kidding. He didn't say that.
My mother's Panamanian.
Mm-hmm.
My father's French and Italian. My mother's actually Panamanian and Jamaican.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's a little
that is
deep.
such a cool.
But I've been going back and forth there since I was a youngster. So yeah, Panama's like my second home. And then I talked about it so much I've had a few nicknames over the years, but Panama's the one that stuck. And I just added the Steve to the end of it.
And now I just call you that. Like I just called you Panama Steve, where are you?
No, it's funny. There's people that know me as Panama, there's people that know me as Steve, and then sometimes it gets mixed up in conversations. Like, oh, you're talking about Panama? Like, that's
Panama.
me. Yep.
I forgot the last time I had this. Why I had it. So we are actually sitting in your studio. So this is Steve's Creative Vibez Studio.
No. Pacific Vibez
Pacific
Studio.
Vibez, Jesus Christ.
She did this once before, but it's okay.
You know why? Because he has an event
called Creative Culture.
Creative Culture.
That we do on a monthly basis here, and we have everything from models with photographers, lowriders. We have artists like our friend Zig that's over here in the corner. We have
studio audience.
We have all kinds of live art as well. Shout out to the homegirl Clutch that was doing art the last time. She was painting one of our friends' cars, and another dude named Cabezones Art. He was doing caricatures.
Oh, cool.
So we always like to implement as much as we can. But yeah, Creative Culture is an event that we do here. The creative director of Creative Culture is the homie B-Mock. He brought a lot. He continues to bring a lot to the studio. And yeah, Pacific Vibez Studios right here in San Jose.
Yes. So with that said, Panama Steve, you do a lot. So you don't just have the studio. You have like a number of things that you do. You kind of do it all. Can you elaborate a little bit on like how that came to be, like how you're...
Well, first, I appreciate it. I have a beachfront property in Bocas del Toro, Panama, Isla Bastimentos. I started that when I was a youngster, and I've had that for years now. It's become like a lifelong project. So I'm like a small-time developer there. So I bought multiple properties now, and basically turning raw land into something, even if it's just a little cabin on the beach. And then I have a gardening company here, a high-end gardening company, like from San Jose up to about Redwood City in the peninsula, and then higher-end areas where people can afford to pay me and my crew. And that's been going for about 6 years now. And then the Pacific Vibez Clothing, I've had for about 6 years as well. And it's been like official, like maybe 2 years ago now. I was just, how they say, out the trunk here in the Bay Area. Like it wasn't anything official. I just made this, had this design made, and then now we got Pacific Vibez Studios, and we do everything here from photography, videography, cinematography, green screen production, as well as podcasts. I have my own podcast called the Panama Steve Podcast. And so, yeah, I think I covered just about everything, yeah.
Is that all? No, just kidding. So some might say you are the epitome of an entrepreneur. Like you just create, which is very impressive and inspirational, hence why you're on the show.
Hint, hint.
So my question for you is, how did you get that started? Like, it started with the properties, which is actually a big one.
Mm-hmm.
That's something big to start with. So what, two-part question. What mindset do you have to be in to actually get an idea going and like off the ground? Because I feel like a lot of people want to do things like that, but never actually do them. So there's that. And then what made you yourself in your unique story start with that?
Well, I would definitely like to say that, execution is key. A lot of us are creative and a lot of us have a lot of ideas, and then obviously the idea has to make sense. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense, right? You'd be passionate about whatever puppets or whatever it is, but how much money, this is a weird example, but how much money does that actually make, right?
Yeah.
So my beachfront property that I bought when I was a kid, I was literally like 21, 22 years old. I had I saved up a couple of dollars, and it goes a long way in Panama. I was hooked up with my friend's father, and he really backed me up on what I wanted to do. I was kind of sick of the rat race, like real young over here, working construction and stuff. So basically, he ended up falling off the map for bad reasons. But I learned at a young age, drugs and women, certain ones. I think the term these days is toxicas, right? He just drained him, and I ended up like stuck with this big old loan. At the time, I was like really, I was really aggravated by his actions of him just leaving me, right? It was, but then in the long run now, even at the time, not so long after that, I realized now I'm by myself. I don't have to report to anybody. I can do whatever I want. Yeah. So it had its benefits at the same time. So I was kind of in a way like I made it up, and then he fell off, and then I executed. Yeah. Right? You can't just give up halfway. And there's a lot of situations, especially when it comes to like entrepreneurship, it's like this is not really working, and you go back to working your regular 9 to 5. But you have to stick through it, like as well as my gardening business, as well as this. Right now, I'm actually in the, just being focused and executing stage. There was a few times with my beachfront where I was like, oh, I just want to sell it, get out of it, now it's worth millions of dollars, right? Then there's the gardening business. It's just like, dude, this isn't really working out, I have some clients and everything, and at first it was really hard for me to get people to work for me, or reliable people, or just good people in general. Yeah. And now that I've established that, it's not that hard. And all the pain and suffering finally paid off. Yeah. So executing, everybody has great ideas, but like really think about it, analyze it, flip it around, analyze it again, and then follow through. If you don't follow through, then you're just like wasting your own time, which is, we only get so much time on this earth, right? Yeah. So what's your advice for someone who doesn't have that drive, like that you're saying for you it's like super easy because you say it's not that hard, just execute it. But for a lot of people, that part is the hardest part, because that's why so many people don't have like a bunch of businesses and like, or any businesses or any, they haven't gotten their idea off the ground because they're like, that's all it is an idea, and they don't have that confidence to do that follow through. So what would your advice be to someone who's like, I want to get there, I want to do the execution, but I'm scared, like, or I don't know, what would be like your... I would say like, first and foremost is if you're satisfied with what you're doing right now, and then just, accept the life that you've put in front of yourself. But if you are sick and tired of it for real, okay, you have to ask yourself, look yourself in the mirror and be like, are you really sick of this shit? Then, excuse my language, right? Then you go ahead and you have to take these sacrifices and steps. So you have to work. I'm not saying go and start, let's just stick with the puppets for right now, right? Don't just start going straight to making puppets and screw your 9 to 5. No, keep working your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And those couple hours a day, maybe even 4 hours a day, how committed you are and how fast you want to make this transition, you have to dedicate that time and sacrifice that time, knowing that it's all going to pay off in the future. And there's going to be ups and downs, and believe me, it's not easy, but there's going to come a point where, you know, your whatever business it is gonna come through and start giving fruit, and you have to take that sacrifice. And at the same time, like, nothing's perfect, you know, nothing's for sure, or else everybody would be entrepreneurs and millionaires or whatever, doing exactly what they want to do. So it's worth it to give it a try and do something that you enjoy, because you definitely don't want to make up something that you hate doing. Even though from an entrepreneur standpoint, now it's all coming into your pocket. Like, let's just say you hate whatever, stick with the puppet thing, right? And it's just blowing up out of control. But next thing you know, you're sick. You're tired of getting people to, you know, there's no puppeteers around here, right? You know, so, you know, but everything's gonna have the problems, and you just gotta push through it, take the risk, push through it.
So
Nobody else is gonna do it for you.
yeah. So it comes down to like kind of like how bad do you want it?
Right.
Because you said, look, if you're comfortable where you're at, you don't want. I mean, obviously, you don't have that like kick that's gonna make you. I'm sick of this life. Let me just like go for it. So yeah, I think you have to be like sick of your sickness. Sick of your.
Well, they say like sick and tired of,
being
you know,
sick and tired.
Right. So you're like doing the same 9 to 5, and they say too that the definition of insanity. Have you ever heard this before? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're expecting something different and you're just going and working your regular 9 to 5, yeah, you're like deceiving yourself in a sense. You know, you're insane. You're right. You're tripping. You know, if you think you're just gonna keep working that regular job,
Yeah.
and that you're gonna move forward, the only way that you're gonna move forward is, you know, we're all, right? I'm assuming everybody here that's watching is an adult, even the children, whoever that's watching.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about you. You have to look at yourself and you have to say, you know what? I'm sick of working for Mr. Johnson. I can do better. And so this is what I'm going to do better, right? Then even if it doesn't work out, you are going to learn from that experience. So I highly recommend for everybody to at least give it a try, you know? And hey, if that, you know, if the puppet business doesn't work out, then with the experience that you got from that, right?
Yeah.
Sorry to use the puppet one as the example, but I was just trying to think of something that might not work out. That's the reason why I'm using the puppet one, you know?
Yeah.
But like really, you should try it. You know, there's a demand for everything out here.
Yeah.
You know? So, and yeah, I would recommend more than that too. Like if you really wanted, where do I start type thing. Like self-esteem is like really, really important. So, and I hate to say it like this, but like starting from this is just my humble opinion, folks. People are really judgmental these days, and there's an expression that, you know, like better looking people are more successful in life, right? So like people are very judgmental. So, you know, the more that you go and try to take pride in yourself, be the best version of yourself, right? I'm not saying go and get all kinds of whatever jobs done on yourself, whatever it is that inspires you, just to feel better about yourself and selling yourself and your brand.
Yeah.
You know, get your teeth done, go and get, you know, lose some weight, gain some weight,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you
Yeah.
need to do, get yourself right.
Yeah.
You know, and feel good and be the best version of yourself.
That's good advice. But I feel like that also falls on like caring about yourself, right?
Right.
Like the more you care about yourself, I feel like the more you take care of your appearance. And that's like, it's deeper than surface level though, you know? Like, you know, when somebody gets into like a really low depression, their house or their room often gets like neglected. So they have like a dirty house or like a dirty whatever, because they're like in depressed state. Like that's one of the symptoms, like, you know, someone's depressed is if they're not taking care of their home. But that has like, your body is also part of your home, right? You're in your body and the skin every single day. So if you're neglecting it, I feel like that is kind of like an indication of someone who doesn't really like fully care about themselves. If you see things like that, I mean, or it can be, I mean, the rare circumstances of like, it's like a health that's out of their control thing, that's different. But if it's just your appearance is due to pure neglect, then that's just like an indication of like how they feel about themselves mentally. But yeah, that went really,
sideways.
really deep, really fast. Like, whoa. But that's what the podcast is about. We get deeper
Right.
on here. But anywho, since you have so many accomplishments, I would like to ask, what is your favorite one? If you have a favorite one, what are you most proud of?
Oh wow. Definitely my beachfront.
Mm-hmm. Why?
Well, it's amazing. I'm not saying these other ones aren't, but it's just like jaw dropping. It's, you know, it's on the Caribbean side, so you have the blue waters, and then I mentioned my Jamaican heritage. So on that side, it has a lot of like that culture that my grandfather, may rest in pieces. That was that part of, almost like how there's like Mexican American, but there's like Jamaican Panamanian. So I always thought all Panamanians like spoke English and stuff, but no, that's just like my family and friends. Until I became like an adult and realized I got out to the real world, like, oh no, not everybody's like this. So when I went to Bocas in particular, it's about an 8-hour drive, hour flight from Panama City, where my family's from. Not everybody goes out there. So when I was exposed to that at 21 years old, I realized like, oh wow, this is like, I felt like this is where I was meant to be. So, you know, it's almost like the Hawaii of Panama.
Okay.
You know, like everybody's made it to the beach here in California, or the majority of Americans, right? But not everybody makes it out to Hawaii, right? So like I made it out to Bocas, where not just every average Panamanian makes it out there. And yeah, I have a lot of accomplishments, but as far as entrepreneurship, yeah, that's the one. That's the top one.
And you obtained that so young. Like, you must be proud of that, right? Like, you're like...
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, if it wasn't for my friend's father, he was kind of going through like a divorce, and he loved traveling, and he saw the opportunity and the potential of Bocas del Toro. He just tagged along, or I don't know what you want to say. We partnered up.
Yeah.
That definitely got the ball rolling faster.
Yeah, but you seized that opportunity, which is
absolutely. Yes, I've been told I'm ambitious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you been like that your whole life, or is this something you developed over time?
I guess I've had it for a while. There's times where I guess we call it being a shy guy or whatever, that, you know, certain things are intimidating, but then there's certain opportunities that you have to, you know, have any, there might not be a second chance at this, so you better get on it, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've been quite ambitious. I can't say that I've taken advantage of every single opportunity that's come across.
Yeah.
Right? But for the most part, yeah, that's what we're here for. I mean, we only get one life to live.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I sit back and trip out on some of the things that I put together, and nothing's all peaches and cream. You know, I had to fight for a lot of these things that I'm in the position that I'm in right now. But yeah, it's all, and you, even when it's not working out, like you still got to have that mentality that this is gonna be worth it, and be positive and glass half full, positive type individual.
Yeah.
So until the business flops, you got to be completely positive and optimistic.
Yeah. What's next for Panama Steve?
Well, really developing this place into being like more like corporate based, like commercials. And when I first made the place, I thought that like I was gonna generate a good amount of money out of like making music videos for artists and stuff, and things more along the lines of like, you know, I have access to all these lowrider cars and stuff, but it's okay, you know. What the real money is like the corporate, maybe, you know, Adobe or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like throwing something out.
Our studio audience has fallen asleep.
It's not because of our content.
No, it's not. It's a very comfy couch.
Yeah, so yes, seeing this place flourish.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And you have, well, we mentioned earlier in the podcast that you had thrown a couple events here anyway, so is that something you want to continue to do, is throw events on top of like everything else that you want to do here?
Yes, that's happening. We got one going on the 7th of June, and then we have another one coming up on July 12th. So yeah, they're happening.
Yeah.
And then we have a couple other things going on. As a matter of fact, my buddy, we just came back from his grandfather's band. They've been playing for the last 50 years. They play like this crazy funk, soul, just some badass music. So I'm planning on having them here soon.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be a good mesh with the lowrider car owners. Should I throw something out of him?
It's getting louder.
You snore, bro. You snoring.
I am?
Yeah.
No bad.
Bro, you got.
Mind you, it is kind of late. We're here at the studio after hours. So
I think it's like what, 10:30 or something.
well, for us.
It's definitely past.
Grown folks.
Cut it on down.
He's the editor.
I'm leaving it all in there. You're next. But anyway, yeah, so that's exciting that this place is going to be even bigger than it is, because a lot is happening here already. And we actually shot some content for the shirts that you're wearing.
She was my best model, by the way.
Thank
No offense to any of the other girls. They did a great job as well.
you.
But it was definitely cool to experience you and BMOC flowing together. You know, a lot of girls, and like I said, nothing against anybody. They have to be coached on how to turn, how to look, how to do this, and
yeah.
stick this out, and don't do this, and stand like this, right?
Don't slouch.
So it was really a cool experience to watch you two get down. That was like, I start applauding in the background. So yeah, no, and I love what you're doing. You know, the Panama Steve podcast is mostly about motivating, as I would like to think. It's obviously a platform for artists to come and showcase what they're doing and what they've done and what they're planning on doing and telling their whole story. But my whole thing behind it all is to motivate and inspire others and tell people, hey, if he can do it, and you can too.
Yeah.
And so I really like what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then you kind of hit people with these questions. And last time we got deeper. Anyway.
Yeah, the conversation just flows that way. I just like to have conversations.
That's the best thing to do.
It's just how my mind works. I just like to get to, I don't know, just the realness of each individual. So I don't remember how we got to where we were talking last time, but
this is the third time.
and this is the third time. But what were we talking about? What are you referencing?
Oh no, we had 3 different ones.
No, this is the third one. We had 2 other ones.
Oh, this is the third. Well, the last 2, it was funny, but I like that. You know, the questions that you ask me makes me think like, so where is this going? What am I doing?
Yeah.
What is my biggest? What am I most proud of? Like, you know.
You know what I noticed? The first interview I did, you downplayed your accomplishments. This time around, you're like, I have this, and you're
I don't like
proud of it.
Well, yes. At the same time,
I like to see that part of Steve.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, and with that being said, like, just like anything, like if you're, you know, working out or something like that, and even though you're in great shape and you've made all this progress, right? You still like not satisfied. You want to be like 2 steps above where you're at. So you're kind of like that in a sense. And I don't ever want to sound ungrateful, right? You know, like yes, my business, a couple of them are more successful than others, right? But at the same time, I've made this. I'm proud of it, and I stand firmly behind it. You know.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like I'm just like some guru that just, you know, entrepreneur that got it all figured out. And that's kind of like the first time around when we talked, that was kind of like what I was implying. I don't think that I'm in the position to start like kicking knowledge just to your average person.
But my argument was you are in the position to start kicking knowledge because you have several different accomplishments that you've created, businesses, and there's so many people out there, more people that don't have not created anything than there are that have. So you absolutely are in the position to be like, look, I created this and this and this and this. Like that's inspirational in itself. Whether though they are successful, even if they weren't, the fact that you had the guts to go out there and like create numerous things is like super inspirational. Like that fact alone is a rare quality that people have, that they've actually gone out and did the darn thing, right?
Right. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate the kind words. It's hard work, and there's a few occasions where it's like, damn, like the term, you bit off more than you could chew. Like now I got to figure out how to chew all this down, you know. So, I'm looking for secretaries soon.
But these are high level problems, right? Like
right.
These are,
first world problems.
Yeah, not even, because some people in the first world
don't have these either.
Don't have these things. So these are like the higher level of problems that like there are people out there who are like scrounging to find a job. There are people out there who, you know, don't know where they're gonna live next. Like they're trying to figure it out. But you have all the survival stuff is figured out. Now you're on the like growth part of it, which is exciting, and those are fun things to like worry about and stress about, because it's like I'm good no matter what. I can stress about this because I'm trying to get to the next level. Like that's a really, really good place to be in.
No, I appreciate it, and I definitely gotta admit there's like a lot of pressure here living in San Jose.
Yeah.
And I want to live here. Like this is where I generate money, and this is where I was raised.
Yeah.
And so, you can't. I hate to even make it sound like this, but you can't just make $100,000 and think you're gonna be able to afford something here.
Yeah.
So, with $100,000, you're gonna afford something in the valley.
Mm-hmm.
Not even in Watsonville or whatever, Los Banos anymore. You know,
Yeah.
so places that you would. I don't know. The whole point of it is I needed to generate more money.
Yeah.
And so if I could make $100,000 at my regular job, and make $100,000 with my gardening business, make $100,000 here, then just maybe one day I can afford something in San Jose that's not in the ghetto, you know?
Yeah.
And that's another thing.
And you will.
No, I will.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm set to do.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a grind, and there's pressure, and this is where I want to be besides Panama. This is where I make money, and I hate to even sound all like super money oriented and stuff. You know, I'm a big time family guy, father of two beautiful girls, Brianna and Victoria, and yeah, like it's all like for the foundation for the kids. You know what I mean? Even if I didn't have kids, I'd still be ambitious, but still, like, if you know, to be here in San Jose, you got to make like 300,000 plus to really be comfortable here.
Yep.
So it's if I were to live somewhere else, I'm not going to say anywhere else, right? Now, how am I going to generate that amount of money in a place like wherever that's outside of the Bay or outside of San Jose?
Mm-hmm.
So, for what I want, this is what I got to do.
Yeah.
You know, and ain't nobody else can do it. Just hand it to me. So I got to figure it out, right? So this is my version of figuring it out. The gardening thing makes money. Might not be something that I'm like super passionate about doing, right? But it makes money. This one, I'm definitely passionate about. Clothing, eventually I would like to get to the next stage of like designing my own clothes, like, and like let that grow. Yeah. Right? Reinforce them all. So yes, I gotta say the pressure of living in San Jose and like being my own, you know, having my own property here. Yeah. I have to build like I have to generate a serious amount of income in order to be able to play here.
Yeah, but I like how you put that, and listening to you talk about it was actually really refreshing, because the way you said it was like, well, I have to do this in order to get this, but I didn't get that from the words you said were that, but your energy behind it was something different, and you kind of like solidified my thought by saying that's how you kind of play the game, is the driving factor behind you, like your fuel is to stay in San Jose, own something in San Jose, or several things in San Jose, and these are the game pieces you're using, and you're making it like, it was just really cool to hear you say it in that way, because I just recently learned something from, actually today the podcast came out, that I had, I'm an older podcast, her name is Priscilla Little, not on my show, but we did a 2-in-1 where I was on her show and she was on mine, and when I was on her show, she showed me something called chunking down, which I didn't have this tool before. I would just see the goal and then get overwhelmed and like and my eyes were on the goal, right? It's like, say this is the goal and this is where my starting point is. I wouldn't bring myself down to be like, okay, step, these are my game pieces, this is how I get here. I would just look at that and want to like get there and get overwhelmed and be like, and then just go into this like mode, and then keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, because I didn't have the tools to like break it down into smaller chunk sizes that I could actually like digest and like go towards. So I would always like make my life harder. I mean, I'd always figure it out, but it would take me the double the time that it probably should have. And this is like in all themes of my life. But it sounds like you already had that tool. Like it was like common sense to you, kind of. Like, whereas for me,
one step at a time.
Yes, I didn't have that until recently, actually. So I learned the hard way. Okay, so anyway, what I was saying before my camera had a malfunction, that I had just recently learned to take my goal into small pieces, and that's how I achieve it. And then I was saying that it seems like you've always had that goal. I mean, that tool, like it was kind of common sense to you, where you're like, well, yeah, you take steps. Like, well, I couldn't see the steps because my sight was set on like the end goal, that I just wanted to like, well, how do I get there? And I wasn't like looking at, oh, let me take a step and then another step. So
baby steps.
Yeah.
You want to take baby steps towards your goals. and see, you have to set the foundation first, and then you can build upon it. So, yeah, take one step at a time. It's not that hard. As far as, a sole proprietorship, these are different business licenses, right? The LLC, nonprofit. Shit, these days you could probably look it up on YouTube, if you don't know where to.
Yeah.
You,
Or ChatGPT. I've learned
There you
that
go.
is just like super useful.
Right. So yeah, just take one step at a time, and don't get flustered. Things aren't gonna happen overnight.
Yeah, that was my problem.
Right. You just gotta go ahead and understand and trust the process, and know that it's all going to work out.
Yeah.
Don't focus so much on the end goal for right now. You gotta do one thing at a time. So that's what I highly suggest to you or whoever that's planning on, following your goals and trying to move up in life.
Yeah. Beautifully said. So simple too, but to those of us who overthink, I think it was just, I couldn't see the steps, so.
Well, you can't be like a perfectionist either. At the end of the day, it's better to come out with results. I don't know exactly whatever business that you're doing. You're better off like trying and losing. Or they say take a L. I call it a lesson. So now instead of you thinking, oh well, that didn't work out, you didn't lose. You just learned a lesson on how to approach that different on the next time around. So everything's a learning lesson, and guess what? You're gonna have to take a few L's before you get a W. You're gonna have to learn a few lessons before you get a win.
That's true. Yep. And I love that. Instead of thinking it like as a failure, it's a lesson. Like, okay, well now I learned not to do it this way.
Imagine if everything you did was just a home run. You just knocked it out the park every single time. And then on your 10th time around, you get your tail knocked between your legs because you didn't learn it on the first or second time around.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people are going at their first, second, third time around and getting their tail knocked between their legs, and they're thinking, okay, this doesn't work. I'm not gonna do this anymore. And they hang up their gloves. They retire from that. They go back to their 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Well, in all reality, it's just a matter of time before you get your tail knocked between your legs. So you're better off getting it out of your system, and you learn. Most important, right? You just get, checked or rejected or whatever it is without learning from your mistakes and learning from the mistakes of others.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one too. Yeah, paying attention to.
Right, and like your competition, see what they're doing, see what they're not doing. How would you do it? Oh, look, he didn't do this. It might not be necessary to go so far with what you're doing. Sometimes the simple is better. The more, simplify your life.
Yeah.
You just want to get these 4 things really well done instead of having 8. I hate to use the word mediocre things.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true, yeah.
Quality over quantity.
Yes. I agree. Well, Steve, this has been a very insightful conversation, and thank you for your advice and sharing, how you became, well, not necessarily how you became, but like the mindset it required to become an entrepreneur. So it's going to be beneficial to not just me. I also learned some things, but for our viewers, is there anything else that you want to share before we sign off?
I appreciate the opportunity and the kind words, and it's always nice to see you, even if it's 3 times around. For anybody out there, just be the best version of yourself. That's really what it comes down to. If you're not happy with how you are, how you look, how you feel about yourself, how you're generating money, or what you're doing to generate it, or to have your own financial freedom for you to be able to go and do things that you would like to do. It's all about your own ambition and executing, like I mentioned earlier. That's all the idea until you actually do it. Then when you do it, you follow through. So my advice is just be the best version of yourself. And yes, I really appreciate talking to you. It makes me think a little bit more about myself. And yeah, I really appreciate the time with you.
Yay! Well, thank you for letting me use your studio and
Of course.
also interviewing you in it, which is a special treat.
My pleasure.
But yes, I want to remind all the viewers to always be who?
Be you.
Yes! See you next week.